Hello everyone and welcome back to another lesson video. Um, Hopefully y'all watched the lesson video yesterday in the 426 folder, April 26th, because that is going over chapter 10, which is the last chapter of the book. Okay, so we are done with the book. This is the fastest we've ever been done with one of the books before, and that is because STAR testing is right around the corner, so I wanted to get in all of your daily grades as soon as possible because starting next week, I will be busy uh, with testing with the in-person students, the ones that are here. Okay, and I don't know if y'all heard the news from the superintendent of Aldine, but there is a chance for the virtual students to come back to in-person learning. The deadline for that is May 3rd. All you have to do is call into the school and say that you want to return to in-person learning to catch up on grades, um, and things like that. Okay. I also details about summer school are going out. So if you are failing, you will be in summer school for about a month. Um, so please make sure you're catching up on your grades or you're doing that acceleration academy so you do not have to go to summer school. Okay. Um, Another announcement: grades are going to be due Friday for your second progress report. So turn in your assignments. I will be uploading another major assessment tomorrow, Wednesday. So look out for that. It's going to be, I think, a couple short answers, a couple multiple choice over the chapters 6 through 10 of the book. Okay. So make sure you caught up on your reading videos or you are reading it if you have the actual book. Okay. But that is it for all the announcements. Let's get into today's lesson. To start it off, there is no welcome. I just wanted to introduce a new vocabulary word to you. A lot of you have probably already heard of this word. It is strategy. So the definition of a strategy is first, a thorough plan or a method or approach, right? A strategy is very common. Y'all have definitely heard of it, especially if you're playing sports or just learning about history. If you're playing sports like soccer, your team and your coaches always have a strategy, a game plan, right? Before you play the game, what you should be doing, how the opponents are going to play, and how you're going to counteract that, right? For history, every war, there's always a strategy, right? Before they go into battle, there's always a strategy of how they will win. There's always a plan, okay? Some synonyms are action plan, policy, technique, or tactic. An example sentence is the civil rights leaders used the strategy of a bus boycott to fight against segregation, right? That's one of their strategies to fight against segregation was a bus boycott. The other one was the taking the case to a federal court and fighting against segregation that way, right? Remember, two fronts. The court was the second front. Why I am introducing this lesson or this word to you is because in today's lesson, I'm going to show you another revolution or social change that happened is a little bit more recent. That happened around 2011, 2012, and a lot of it is still happening today. There was a lot of violence and regime changes during this revolution, so it was a little bit different than the civil rights movement, right? But I wanted to show you that there are different ways to change the world, to make social change, right? And this one has to do with social media, okay? So, what other strategies for social change did members of the civil rights movement use? I just talked about it. Remember the carpool they had for the getting the people around when they were boycotting buses, people walking, um, taking it to court. Those are all the strategies that they used, right? So the focusing question changed is what strategies do people use to affect social change? So we're not just focused on the civil rights movement and Claudette Colvin anymore. We're talking about other people affecting social change, right? And the content framing question for lesson 17 is what is happening in social media sparked accelerated Egypt's revolutionary fire. Okay, so social media sparked accelerated Egypt's revolutionary fire. We talk about social media and how you can use social media to affect change. That should be very relevant to you all right now because y'all are growing up in the social media era, the social media age. Okay. But yeah, I'm very excited to get this started. I did link you this website, this article last Thursday with the lesson 10 video or the chapter 10 reading video. So hopefully y'all read through it or just scanned it, because I am going to need y'all to read this today. Okay? Learning goal is we're going to be able to explain the roles of social media and promoting change during the Arab Spring. That is what the revolution that we're looking at is called. It's called the Arab Spring. It happened in the Middle East. Okay? So the Arab Spring was a year of revolutions in the Middle East. It started late 2010, I believe, and it's still going on today. It's, again, started with protests in Tunisia, later spread to 18 countries, and it all happened very quickly. I am going to show you a quick timeline. Hopefully you are able to see this. Okay, so this is the Middle East right here, right? Some of the countries you may have heard of is Egypt, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, right? The ones that are still in a lot of chaos right now, the main one is Syria. Okay, Syria was a big one. It's always in the news quite a bit. So this is a quick interactive timeline, and I will link this to you in today's folder as well, 427. So it starts out in December 17, 2010. So a fruit seller by the name of Mohammed Bouazizi, he was selling, and the police assault him, they slap him, and they take away his fruit, right? They take away his goods. He gets very angry, very frustrated. So he pours paint thinner all over himself, and he sets himself on fire. Okay. So he sets himself on fire, and people start taking videos of it, and that video goes viral. It gets spread all across the country. People keep sharing it with each other, and this causes people to go into the street and take action, right? People are frustrated with the government, with the police, and they're fighting. This is very reminiscent of what is happening in our country right now, right? People being frustrated with the police and things like that, and people going into the streets, right? But this man sets himself on fire to take action. So now is December 24 to 29, and look at how many other protests are happening right now. Okay, it spread quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 other protests right now, and people are usually very peaceful during these protests, but the police are not. The government was completely they were not ready for this type of or this level of protest, and they are using force to fight against it, but it is not working so far. And then look, January 7th, there's a regime change. Okay, the Tunisian president, he's sort of like a dictator. Let's see if I can pronounce his name. Zine Al Abidine Ben Ali. He fled to Saudi Arabia, which is around here. So he goes from Tunisia to Saudi Arabia because he's scared, right? People are going after him. So the protest works, right? There's a regime change, and a regime change basically means a change in power. Okay, so the Tunisian president leaves, so there's this power vacuum, right? What happens is someone needs to fill in that vacuum, but before that happens, a lot of other countries are seeing what's happening in Tunisia and how they affected change, and look how it spreads. You ready? Boom. Egypt is going through it. Lebanon, Israel, Yemen, Sudan. They are also fighting against, and they're also protesting against their government, and there are other regime changes, right? This is January. Remember, it all started in December 10, 2010, right? And it's January all the way to February, early 2011, and look how much has already changed. Egypt has some of the most protests going on during this time, and what happens is they actually get their own president to leave. He leaves, and because of the protests are working, and it's seeming like every country is vulnerable or could fall at any given moment. The Egyptian government actually shuts down mobile and internet networks so that people can't communicate with each other. They did that because a lot of the protesters were communicating through Twitter and Facebook with each other. And this is important because that's what you're going to read about in the article, right? And Egypt doesn't want to know what Egypt does not want other countries, to know what is happening to the protesters, because a lot of them, they are being put down by force, and other countries could be sympathetic to the protesters and try to offer help. If that makes sense. And then look, in just a matter of days, it spreads all over, and it is constant fighting, and now the name Arab Spring starts to get um, um, starts to come out from the media. I don't know if y'all know, but in Libya, right here, was one of the biggest overthrows of their government. You may have heard of this name, Muammar Gaddafi. He was like sort of the dictator of Libya, and he faces the largest protests. Okay, um, and the outside world sort of understands what Muammar Gaddafi is doing to his protesters. He sort of uses like chemical warfare against them, which is illegal to do in times of war. Uh, this from the Geneva Conventions, if y'all have heard of it. It sort of sets like rules that you have to follow during wartime, and he breaks all of those against his own citizens. He eventually does get overthrown, okay, as you see right here. Civil war breaks down, and Muammar Gaddafi gets caught. He gets killed in the streets, okay, and there is a regime change. And since the Muammar Gaddafi is gone, there is again another power vacuum, and someone they're fighting to fill that vacuum in. Okay, and now Yemen has a lot of protests. Bahrain is filled with constant protests now, and it's just constantly going. Right, in Libya, there's airstrikes going. Um, I think the U.S. actually did help out. A lot of outside countries did help out in Libya by airstriking and setting off bombs to help out um, their to help out the protesters lead their revolution, right? Syria right now is constantly protesting now, and we're about to see a big change in Syria. Okay, in Syria and in Egypt, there is constant pressure. Syria is still in a civil war to this day. They are constant fighting. We're in late 2011 now. Protests are still going. Syria is in a full civil war. That's why it's in red. The countries in yellow are still in the middle of protest. And then look, Egypt has fallen into military control. Libya is in full civil wars. Yemen is in full civil war. Syria is in full civil war. Iraq is sort of getting caught in Syria's civil war, right? So it's sort of spilling over into Iraq, okay? And then look, it's 2019 now, and it is still happening. Syria is in still civil war right now. Yemen is still in civil war. Libya is still in civil war. Tunisia, Egypt, and Sudan, there are still these power vacuums and people clinging to power and wanting it. That's why they're in yellow, for regime change. Okay, so it all started with the viral video of someone setting themselves on fire, and then look, 3 countries fall, the power, and 3 countries fall: Egypt, Tunisia, and Sudan, and 3 countries are in civil war right now. Okay, that is absolutely crazy. Hopefully, that timeline sort of showed you how quick revolutions can happen, especially in today's age of social media. Like if Claudette Colvin had Instagram on that bus, right? Maybe it spreads a lot quicker, right? If maybe she goes live on Instagram and records everything. Maybe the rumors don't get spread because she has evidence, right? How we create social change is a lot different than how the civil rights leaders did it, right? Because we have our phone. We can record everything. Whenever someone gets stopped by the police or anything like that, a lot of them start recording, right? How we spread and how we try to change the world is a lot different than people back then, right? You saw how how long it sort of took for the civil rights movement to get going. It took years and years. Look at this timeline. Look how quick civil war started happening. Look how quick change started happening. Just a matter of months. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. There is a little snippet of reading after you're done with the timeline. So if you want to read about what's happening, go for it. I highly recommend it. But we're going to move on into the article, which is mainly about Egypt's revolution. And this is the article right here. I know it's a little bit of a long one, but it is a really cool read. While you're reading, I want you to focus on these three questions. Number one is what caused the Egyptian revolution? So, what caused the Egyptian revolution is unfair government. The government was very controlling, restrictive, and people were forced to do things that they didn't want to do. The government had too much power, and people were angry at that, and they were angry at the state of their country. Right, the government had all the power, but a lot of people were still sick, still didn't have food, still didn't have water. Right, so they were angry at that. So they wanted change. They wanted to make things better. And number two, what roles did social media play in the Egyptian revolution? As the title says, social media sparked and accelerated it. So the social media didn't cause the revolution, but it helped it move a lot more quickly and further along. As you saw from the timeline, everything went so quick, right? In a matter of weeks, information was getting shared. Governments were falling. Civil war was happening, right? So the two social medias that were the most important for the Egyptian revolution was Facebook and Twitter. Facebook helped the Egyptian citizens act as change agents and to coordinate with each other on where to go, where the police are, where they should attack next. And Twitter carried the message around the world. Twitter allowed people to from other countries like our country, USA, to know what was happening in Egypt at that time. Okay, so Facebook helped the Egyptian citizens. Twitter helped carry the news of what was happening in Egypt around the world. Okay. Number three, explain Wael Ghonim statement from paragraph 16. If you want to liberate a country, give them the internet. Basically, what he's saying is social media can help people get democracy or government changes in very oppressive countries like Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Syria, things like that. It actually helped people get freedom in Tunisia, right, from that viral video. So social media, if you want to create social change, if you want to try to get more freedoms, use social media, use the internet, because it is a very powerful tool for pro-democracy movements. Okay, and the summary for this entire article from paragraphs 1 through 5, you can summarize it as dissatisfaction started the revolution, but social media sped it up. For paragraphs 6 through 8, different platforms played different roles. Facebook helped organize the protesters, while Twitter and YouTube got the word out. And 3, technology is a powerful tool for supporting pro-democracy movements or starting revolutions, right? That's basically what this article is about. 19 paragraphs. I highly recommend y'all read it. It is very, very good. Okay, so hopefully y'all see how social media has made it where we can create change a lot easier and spread information a lot quicker, right? How we create change is a lot different than how they did it in the past, especially with the civil rights movement. How they spread information was through newspapers, news, meetings. How we do it is tweeting, Instagram, Facebook, everything like that, messaging each other. It's a lot quicker, right? So hopefully you see that. Hopefully this makes sense. Tomorrow we will be going over another revolution. It's still in the Middle East, but a different side of it, of how social media is sort of hindering us in making social change. Remember, keep an eye out for the major test tomorrow. I may include a daily assignment today. If it's not uploaded, then it probably won't be a daily assignment. But just keep an eye out for it. If you have any questions, as always, email me, message me on Schoology, and I will try to get back to you as quick as I possibly can. Okay. But other than that, that is it. And I will see you here for the next video. Bye.